Good morning, everyone. Year 9s, this is the story about the sacred geese, about how the guard geese saved the Romans from their enemies. Okay, let's start off with Olim. So Olim, once upon a time, but I think once is probably fine. So once, Olim, Romani, nominative, plural, once the Romans. Look at this, pugnar bant. Remember last term we talked about the two tenses we've learned so far. The perfect, which is from the word perficio, which is I complete. Those are the completed actions, and the imperfect, which are incompleted. Basically, imperfect, bambas bat, bamus batis bant, I was, you were, he was. In this case, pugnar bant, they were. So once the Romans were fighting diu for a long time, imperfect then pugnar bant, were fighting for a long time, contra, against, preposition, followed by accusative, gallos, the Gauls. Many Romans abierent, so eo is I go, so ab eo is I go away, abierent, perfect. Many Romans went away because timebant, they were afraid. So timebant, imperfect, abierent, perfect. Keteri, the other Romans were waiting, imperfect, on the Capitoline Hill. Capitoline Hill then was the centre of religious and kind of political significance for the Romans. So the other Romans were waiting on the Capitoline Hill, in here, place where, followed by the ablative. The Capitoline Hill is sacred, they said. Jupiter and Juno and Minerva live, present tense there, you haven't learned the present yet, live on the Capitoline Hill, ablative. It is good to defend, infinitive, Lachlan, remember that? It is good to defend the Capitoline Hill bravely. Diu, for a long time, the Romans, nominative plural, were waiting, imperfect, on the Capitoline Hill, ablative, and they defendebant, imperfect, they were defending bravely. Galli, the Gauls were non poterant, were not able, vincere, infinitive, were not able to win, because it was difficult, ascendere, infinitive, to climb up to, motion towards, followed by the accusative, because it was difficult to climb up to the Capitoline Hill. At last, the Gauls. Now, yesterday when we were translating this, we talked about how capio can mean I take or I seize, but consilium capio, you wouldn't seize a plan, you would make a plan. So at last, the Gauls made a good plan. Prope, nearby the river, there was saxum praeruptum, there was a sheer cliff face. Sheer here means very steep. The Gauls, clam, secretly were able, ascendere, infinitive, to climb up the sheer cliff. Tum, then the Gauls, ascendebant, were climbing the rock, the cliff face. The Romans, dormiebant, imperfect, were sleeping. The Romans, non audiverent, did not hear gallos, the Gauls. The Romans did not hear the Gauls. Suddenly, the sacred geese caught sight of the Gauls. Conspexerent, that's the perfect tense. You can look for the letter V, which of course in Latin is pronounced w, so we, wisty, wit, wimus, wistus, werent, but also the double S sound is the perfect tense, and the X is essentially a double S. So conspexerent, perfect tense. Suddenly the geese made clangores, a noise. Suddenly the Romans heard the geese, and conspexerent, perfect tense again, caught sight of the Gauls. The Romans quickly, celeriter, adverb, quickly ran up to the Gauls, motion towards, followed by the accusative, and were fighting, imperfect, pugnarbant, and were fighting, audacter, bravely. The Romans were throwing the Gauls, imperfect, were throwing gallos, accusative, the Gauls down from, ablative, were throwing the Gauls down from the rock. Corpora, my apologies everyone, with the sound of the bell going, reminding you, letting you know that I am doing this from school this morning. So, corpora, arma, gladi, et sagitae, bodies, weapons, swords, and arrows, cardebant, imperfect, were falling down, de saxo, from, ablative, from the rock, from the cliff face. The Romans, interfecerunt, killed, perfect tense, multos, accusative, gallos, accusative, killed many Gauls. Of course, if it was multi Romani, then it would be many Romans killed the Gauls, and it would be nominative. But here it's accusative, agreeing with the gallos. Multos, agreeing with the gallos. Romani, the Romans were happy. We waited on the Capitoline Hill, place where, ablative, Mansimus could also be we have waited. We call this the true perfect. When you see a perfect tense in direct speech, as in within speech marks, then you can sometimes translate it as the true perfect, which rather than saying, for instance, I remained, you remained, he remained, for mansi, mansisti, mansit, you could make it, I have remained, you have remained, he has remained. We have remained on the Capitoline Hill, they said, because it is sacred. Peti vimus, we have sought, or we sought is fine, help from the gods, ablative, by, with, or from. De, the gods, serva verunt, have saved, I'm using the true perfect, have saved Rome. Very well done, everyone. I'll see you all next lesson.